Yeah, Devon, huge congratulations. You're through to the second day of the UK Open. Was it nice to get on that save or on your board nice and early, get it out of the way so you can rest up for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's always important to kind of get those, potentially if you get in the early days then, because tomorrow comes quick and fast. And if you're first on, it's an early start. So, yeah, it allows you to kind of settle down and kind of just chill, because when you come from a win, it's always you're on that hype level, you're just buzzing. Social media normally goes crazy and you don't really get a great sleep. But now it's just after 8:30 and I'm able to probably fall asleep at 10:30. So yeah, I'll be fresh and ready for tomorrow.
What's it like trying to prepare for this? Because obviously you don't know when you're on. When the draw's done, you could be on first or you could be on last. How do you get ready for that, not knowing?
The most important thing is to make sure that you are focused for the day. So obviously everybody watches the darts through the day as the day goes. I normally have a early afternoon kind of practice, and then you act as though you're going to be first on for the day or for the evening session. And that kind of preparation, obviously, if you're later on, it's great because you can come, you can chill, and you've already prepared half the way through. So for me, ultimately, I start slightly earlier. Prep starts at 4 o'clock, and then when the announcement comes through, you kind of almost halfway through your preparation, and it's just kind of a bonus if you're second on, because it means that you get an extra half an hour, 40 minutes on your prep, which is always great.
Obviously, today looked more like yourself at the Pro Tour. It did as well, 95, nice solid average. You touched at the Worlds that you didn't think you were ready because of the injury you had. Now, looking back, was the injury maybe a bigger factor towards the back end of last year? Now you've had time to rest, you feel yourself again?
Most definitely. It felt I had to throw differently to achieve a similar result, which I haven't achieved, obviously. And I think that the injury definitely had a massive impact. So you think about it, and people always go, yeah, but he's tailed off, and all of these things that I've seen, these kind of posts. And in my mind, I'm just like, ultimately, people don't understand the elements that you face. It's the fatigue, it's staying on the road, it's all of these things that factor in. And Gezi coming through at the end, I mean, that shows you how big a fitness, being fit to play the sport is so important. And yeah, I've kind of taken a leaf out of his book, and definitely I've rested the rest after the Worlds, and then got back into preparing. So I needed to kind of dissect the throw completely and then start building from the bottom up, in a sense. So last week, like you alluded to now for the Pro Tour, was kind of just it's the first event that I've played in the season, and I was looking forward to just kind of seeing where my throw was and exactly what the performance was. And I felt great performing well against top players, and especially on the third day when I played probably my best darts for the weekend, and that for me kind of carried over this today, and I came out hard at the start with loads of 1080s, missing 9 darters, and I feel back into kind of almost shape, but I think that there's loads more that I can get to.
And obviously, just touching on that for my last one, obviously, where it was a wrist injury, do you have to make sure that it doesn't repeat itself and reoccur? And do you know how to prevent that happening again?
Yeah, I think it's just hard. Like, obviously, back then, last season, I with my throw coming into kind of form, in a sense, it's the first time that I threw like that. So I found myself in a position where I needed to almost kind of watch what I'm doing back end, because it was the pain and visiting masseuses all the time and making sure that the rest is kind of limbered up, in a sense, to perform. But yeah, like you say, I mean, knowing exactly the mistakes I made last year, slight late release caused that the rest got injured, and that just became repetitive, in a sense, and the more you do it, the worse it gets, in a sense. But you couldn't stop, because obviously the PDC and the calendar was coming thick and fast. So for me, ultimately now I'm trying to take precautions, obviously not practice as much as I did before, and just make sure that I'm throwing correctly, and yeah, hopefully it doesn't return, and hopefully this season can be a great season without any injury.
Devon, pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
Dev, you say there about making this a great season. What would that entail for you? What do you think needs to be achieved for it to be a great season?
I think if I'm close to replicating what I did last year in the season, and also just moving forward with that, as in probably progressing to the top 16 of the world, hopefully winning a major, adding more titles this season. Because now, once you win the first title, you understand what it takes to become a champion, and also just completing a race in a sense, or a journey in a tournament. I've never experienced that before, but now every tournament that you enter or you start off with, it's completely different. It's uncharted territory for me, because like with this tournament, I've never played. I was never a top 32 player. So coming into the fourth round is fantastic for me, I feel. And even on the Pro Tour, being a top seed on the board, I've never started a season like that, which gives you different kind of confidence. And now for me to move forward, I'm definitely hoping to kind of take that and run with it in a sense, and take advantage of the position that I find myself in.
Do you see that as an advantage, being able to go into the third round then? Or do you think maybe some of the players that have had a couple of games, they are a bit warmer? Or where do you see the advantage?
I think for players that are constantly performing well, it's great to not be exerted in a sense, because if, for example, let's say, for example, you're playing an hour of great darts, but you're playing 2 hours of competition. So your hour now, I mean, you kind of shifting closer. So let's say you're playing an hour and 15 minutes of a tournament, then ultimately you're going to be playing most of your great darts, you know what I mean? So for the players that come in strong, I mean, if you start in round one and you find yourself in the latter stages of this tournament, you'd be exhausted by now tonight. Some players are playing great, like the likes of Alan Suter. We see how brilliantly he's performing. He's one of the standouts. But there's other players that obviously struggle with the latter stages of these tournaments. And for us to come in at this point in time it's advantageous, but that's obviously the UK Open and the FA Cup feel to it.
I have to ask, what's the like being in the venue with all 8 boards? Obviously, you've got the TV stage, stage 2, and you've got all the other boards. But what's it like being in that sort of environment?
It's fantastic, because it's literally Bolton-esque when the UK Open was hosted there, and we had all the boards surrounded, and you kind of see different players, and some players celebrate, some don't. Board 2 is quite close to the other boards, so yeah, I think it's just fantastic, and I know that obviously the PDC and taking it back to Minehead is a major factor, because you have a bigger crowd there. You have but this is fantastic, and it just reminds us back of Bolton, basically.
So it gets the Devon seal of approval, does it?
100%, and it's fantastic that the PDC can still host these majors along with the likes of ITV Sport and Ladbrokes, and you look at different tournaments, and you look at the way in which the world looks now. I mean, having these tournaments is you don't know how much work is put into it, and you can actually see it now when you hear. So yeah, you just got to give kudos to everybody obviously involved.
Oh, brilliant. Cheers for your time, Devon. Best of luck tomorrow.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.